Alrighty. So this is the monthly Metacrisis.xyz call. I put together a Slido that everyone can use as the agenda. So please just add stuff to the agenda if you have something that you want to have added. Put a link in the chat here, and we can just spend 5 minutes on each topic. It looks like the questions, thanks for these questions, Rijan. Yeah, I'm connected with someone on Ikigai, and I'm not sure if it's David Morrow. I'll have to search my inbox to see if it is. And then, yeah, I am talking to Reike for the Green Pill podcast. Thank you for setting both of those up and following up on both of those. Do people have other agenda items?
Other than eating lunch, the only thing that's on my mind is what the first agenda item is about the QF round.
Okay. And then Rijan, read David Morrow. Looks like I'm connected with him on LinkedIn, so I don't usually check LinkedIn. I think that I'll message him there and try to move over to email just so that I can follow up. But thank you for the reminder on that.
Okay, thanks, no problem.
Yeah. Okay, so how is the QF round going? I'm gonna start with that. So this is the Gitcoin round manager, which is the admin only view that me and Steven have. According to their stats, there's been about 11,000 donations made. There is $25,000 in matching funds available, 81 unique contributors who have given 226 contributions. And it looks like they've got a table of all of the contributors here. I'm not sure why this table is not ranked by number of contributions, but looks like in the lead right now is Iris and Giveth and Mirror, and looks like Self-Actualization in the Age of Crisis novel are the ones that are in the lead right now. So yeah, I'm not sure what that says about how the round is going. From what I've seen in the general Web3 community, I think that people are figuring out how to deal with the fact that the gas fees are rather high on the Ethereum mainnet, and so I think that that's been a challenge for people who are contributing. But I know a lot of people who are loading up their cart and they're planning on contributing sometime in the future. So that's what I know about how the Gitcoin grants round for Metacrisis is going. I'd be curious to hear perspectives of from all of you about how it's going. And welcome, Mycelia and Marcus. We're just working off of this Slido for the agenda for the call. Feel free to add items or upvote items if they're a priority for you. And just a heads up, I am recording this so that anyone who is not on the call can watch it later. So yeah, curious for perspectives. Does anyone have feedback on the round so far, positive or negative?
I have some feedback because I was quite an active participant, and I was at all times communicating with the Gitcoin people, admins. So my feedback was valuable. There was a number of discussions, and yeah, I'm just thinking whether decentralization at all cost. Do we want to keep everything on chain? Because with Gitcoin Passport, you collect stamps and it doesn't use on-chain transactions. It is using this ceramic DB. However, when updating grants, it uses the on-chain, and the gas fees are not cheap. So yeah, this is just a general philosophical question. Do we want to have everything on-chain with transaction fees, or maybe some like a Web 2.5 with some elements of on-chain and off-chain? That is my feedback.
Thanks, Mars. That's fair. Alrighty. If anyone else has feedback or comments on the round, then we can talk about that. And if not, we can move on to the next agenda item, for which there is none. So this might be a short call unless people start contributing to the agenda or have feedback on the quadratic funding round. And yeah, next time maybe Stephen and I can be a little bit more prepared. Stephen's out this week teaching a course, and he's totally offline. So I think that's why we don't have much of an agenda this week.
I need to hop on a bicycle to pick up kids from school, but because there is a number of people on this call and we are all passionate, we are full of energy. Like even if there is no specific items on the agenda, the collective brain power of people on this call, we gathered here for a reason. We are voting with our energy, with our time. So I will need to turn my camera off as I'm, cycling. But please keep this space open because I'm just passionate about Metacrisis. And while we are here, we should just figure out what are our next steps. If I may, I'm actually thinking that the current Gitcoin funding round of 25,000. In the grand scheme of humanity, 25K is not much. However, when you look at the, say, open philanthropy, or say Bezos Earth Fund, or Elon Musk Foundation, or Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, like the amount of money available for climate change, for impact funding, for developing clean energy infrastructure in Africa, I would say the amount of funding is infinite. So this is genuine suggestion. Us as Metacrisis, we should get better at applying for grants so that the next Metacrisis round is not 25K, but it is 10x or 100x bigger. And right now, I'm sorry, I just need to kids at school. I'll just be listening. Thank you.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So we've got 25K for this round. I was able to crowdfund another, I think it's like 8K or something like that. I've never done the NGO or like impact grant writing circuit, so I'm not exactly sure where the deep wells of funding are. But I agree that there's a lot more funding available for people who are doing good work and have access to those things. So maybe that's something we can do in the next quarter, is figure out how to shore up the matching pool and get more money into it. I think that we'll be in a better position to show that it's a good use of capital after we've successfully completed a round and it should be shown to be a good capital allocation mechanism. Hey, Matilda, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Just so you know, we're recording and just talking about the Metacrisis QF round right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely echo the comment about the gas fees. Ethereum's been quite congested the past week or so. So this has nothing to do with the Metacrisis round, but just generally look forward to L2 support in the Gitcoin grants protocol. Yeah, I think it was cool to see the diversity.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Marcus. I was just going to say the cosmic accident is that the whole thing's completely on chain. It could have been deployed to Optimism, but Gitcoin decided to do the mainnet. So it does support L2, and I'm no longer directing resources at Gitcoin in any way, but from what I've heard on their public discussions, it sounds like the next round will be on an L2. So yeah. Yeah,
that was my understanding too. Yeah, and then generally it was cool to see the diversity of projects addressing like different aspects of the Metacrisis. Definitely a lot of climate focused stuff, which I think makes sense given that the Gitcoin platform has had a climate round for a while now. So there's a lot of people building stuff in that space who are familiar with it. Yeah, I think just keeping up that diversity of different like angles is good for future rounds. And yeah, I think the point about like unlocking larger pools of capital is really interesting. I know, like the on-chainness definitely creates a friction point there of like, getting these traditional grant giving organizations comfortable with the idea of like the capital they give out going on chain and then being distributed to what is effectively random people on the internet, right? Yeah, I know they sign like each grantee has to sign some kind of agreement with Gitcoin, but it's not your typical setup, but definitely a lot of capital out there to be tapped.
Yep, for sure. I'm hoping. So the first thing I want to aim for is consistency. So in June or July, I guess it would be July or August at this point. Where does the capital come from for that matching round? And then from there, how do we increase the amount of capital every single time we do this? And not just increase the amount of capital, but increase the amount of activity in the round. I think just being on an L2 hopefully will increase the activity in the round by a handful of multiples. But appreciate your feedback, Marcus.
Definitely.
Alrighty, so the number one thing on the agenda right now is how is the QF round going? And I don't see anything else really on the agenda. Although Rejan, it looks like you added something about a filmmaker that that it is interested in regen civics and crypto economics who's on the Pacific Northwest. So we could jump over to that unless anyone else has something to say about the QF round. Not feeling the need to too tightly curate this, given that there's not a ton on the agenda. So why don't we go with that? Run with that right now.
Sure. Yeah, the point is, again, I have a new connection as part of a regenerative communities weaving effort to do social glue type stuff, and feeling that there's a need to do more storytelling within the Metacrisis.xyz and kind of connecting the dots there. And again, this particular filmmaker is in the Pacific Northwest, and I was wondering if there's a way we can do some maybe short video storytelling that might allow those of us in this domain to do some sharing and again having a consistent message and some video to support it. So
got it. Yeah, do you know what type of like interviewees they'd be most interested in? Are they interested in theory? Are they interested in showing the practice happening now?
I think it's practice. The video that he did was kind of more on the food system side of things, with I believe Cascadia, a college around the Seattle area, and so it was just kind of a short, very visceral view about how might we have a regenerative food system. And
right.
And again, I hooked him into the Regen Civics stuff that Reiki was doing, and he watched kind of his story arc again. It's the 2-hour bit on that, and was interested. And I think there's a potential alignment between what Seeds is doing and what we're doing in the Metacrisis space, and how to connect that. So. Again, that was the thought, and if I could hook him up to do some of that real world on the ground storytelling about, well, this is what it's like to do exchange in crypto for in a new currency for food. I mean, how do we solve that very basic need, and in that way? So.
Well, thanks, Fujan. Looks like Darren's in the Pacific Northwest, so maybe y'all can connect. And then I don't know if you're looking only for interviewees in the Pacific Northwest, but if it's a global invitation, if you want to send me an email, I can pass it around to some of my network and see if we can get them connected to that.
Great, we'll do. And Darren and I will reach out.
Great. Alrighty. I think we've covered all of the agenda except for how is the QF round going. So I don't know if people have more comments on that, or just in general Metacrisis related stuff that people are excited about. Feel free to bring it up. Open forum, as long as we give everyone an opportunity to speak. I'm down to have a more general discussion.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious if we've started like formalizing what the activities of Metacrisis DAO are. Like I've got a few in my head that are clear. Like we have a forum where we talk about ideas. There's a wiki with lots of like great content about these ideas. And then we've got this like funding activity to try to get some money out to people who are going to work in this space. Are there other like initiatives, or like, well, one, have we written up like that this is the like activities of the Metacrisis DAO as it stands today? And two, like, are there any other ideas out there that have been floated that haven't been actioned yet?
Oh, there's lots of ideas that have floated on the forum. We have No scarcity of ideas in this group.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, I'd say that generally my interpretation as someone who's trying to stimulate activity in this group is that it's a group of people from across the world in many different industries that are interested in understanding and then eventually starting to address the meta crisis. And there's value in the cross pollination of all of those people. And so, so yeah, I mean, in my view, the QF round is just a way of rallying resources behind the projects that have the most legitimacy, according to this distributed groups of individuals. And there's a post at the top of the forum that says, "What is Metacrisis.xyz?" My feeling is that it's not my place to dictate it, and different people can have their own interpretation of what this group is for and what it can be used for. And as long as people aren't abusing each other and are following a basic code of conduct, then any type of activity that's related to the meta crisis is permissive to me. So I guess TLDR, Marcus, like there's a loose affiliation with understanding and addressing the meta crisis as a direction, but I'm not comfortable being I don't want to be a benevolent dictator, and I don't want to narrow it beyond that.
Yeah, that's clear.
And Rijan just pointed out. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying I appreciate the delicate balance of trying to launch and shepherd a thing without feeling like you end up becoming a decision maker. Yeah, I do agree, and I wonder to the extent to which it is a DAO. That's one of the reasons I was asking the question in that way. Is one of the things I've experienced with DAOs is that often if they don't have a very clear North Star objective, or here are the things that this DAO does, it ends up becoming this sort of free for all of just people talking about stuff and not a lot of things happening. And so I do wonder, is it really more of a whatever community rather than a DAO? Maybe it's a terminology thing, but
yeah. So that's a great point. We actually just renamed the community from metacrisisdao.com to metacrisis.xyz. And there's a forum, there's a wiki, and there's a quadratic funding round. The reason we renamed it from Metacrisis DAO was that everyone kept asking when governance, and I think there was an implication of when token when it was called DAO. And now that it's just called Metacrisis.xyz, hopefully there's all the energy that was that was focused on how do we govern this DAO can now be focused on the actual meta crisis, which is the actual thing that we're here to figure out. Sorry, Ryan. Thank you.
Clear.
Welcome, Madeline. We're just catching up on how the quadratic funding round is going, but just anything general metacrisis.xyz related, happy to chat about. One thing I'd love to hear from all of y'all is who should I have on the Green Pill podcast? I have Chris Eddy on an episode coming out tomorrow. He's a research assistant to Daniel Schmachtenberger. I have Brendan Norgard was an episode that we did yesterday, and I want to do more and more Metacrisis related content. So if there's someone who's really inspiring you on Metacrisis related stuff, I would love a warm intro to someone who could be a podcast guest.
This isn't necessarily a specific person, but more of a direction. I know Daniel was vaguely associated with SFI, but have you been connected with any of the researchers in the SFI Santa Fe Institute research network who are working on because there's people who have studied collapse of historical civilizations. I can try to get some specific references for you, but it was just they do a lot of content over there at SFI, not so much about the meta crisis directly, but I know a lot of their researchers have been working on stuff like this.
Yeah, I'm talking to Simon Johnson, who and Michael Garfield. So basically Complexity Podcast and
yep.
And yeah, so but yeah, more connections over there would be great. And oh my gosh, I read Jared Diamond's Collapse 10 years ago, and I just forgot about it until you said that right now. But really profound thinking in studying historical civilizational collapse that I think could be generative and hopefully not super doomy.
Yes, finding the hope in the doomerism. That's the
yeah. James Birtle looks like is an artist of some sort based in London.
Yeah, but Matthew Garfield should be able to connect you with all the people because he was running their own podcast. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just not sure who to ask for an intro to. Maybe when I chat with Michael next, I'll ask him who should I Yeah, who should I chat with?
Yeah, I'll try to dig up a couple of references. I did a research program there and spoke with a couple of the people who studied that ancient civilization collapse stuff. I'll dig up some names.
James Bridle is a writer. He published a book called Ways of Being not long ago.
Mm,
I think it's very relevant to a Metacrisis topic.
thank you. I'll check that out. I don't know if you can give me a warm intro or not, but if not, I can just cold email. Sometimes when you offer an audience of several thousand people, you get an actual response to your cold email. But otherwise, I haven't gotten very much luck. Okay, well, anyone else have things they want to talk about? If not, we can break about a half hour early. Excited to retrospective the round once it's over and it's all paid out with all of y'all. So, maybe we'll have more generative content to discuss on next month's call.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see which type of projects end up attracting the most donations. We'll see.
Yeah, samesies. Mars is back. Hey, Mars.
Yes, once you said that the call is going to have finished 30 minutes earlier, I'm actually, yeah, this is the school. I'm picking up my kids. I'm shuffling multiple responsibilities in this life. And personally,
Yeah.
I wish I had more peace in my personal life, but you raise up to the challenges you are facing. And ultimately, I am still very privileged. Past couple of days, I was in London at the big one. The big one was the protest organized by Extinction Rebellion and more than 200 other organizations. And it weren't just the typical environmental groups. It was the Union of Teachers, Union of Nurses, Union of Rail Workers, Union of someone, and the Catholic Church, and the Buddhist Church, and the Jewish Church. 200 organizations protesting for 4 days right in front of the parliament. And every single day I was taking a screenshot of a front page of news of BBC, Guardian, Independent, Daily Mail, Sun, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what to think at this point in time, because it was a big event in my version of the reality. It was as if entire country was unified. It was literally just like we are 99%, but there was nothing on the cover page of media. Just before this call, I was briefly at the Journal DAO call. They posted on the forum inviting some participants from Metacrisis. And I would love us having a bigger media platform. The Greenfield podcast is a great content. However, you have like 1,000 viewers per episode, 2,000, 5,000. I really wish we were thinking 10x, 100x, 1,000x bigger. I definitely want to become more involved in the fundraising part, because in my version of the reality, the amount of funding available for climate is infinite. The amount of funding for food system and helping resolve global hunger, the amount of money for clean energy infrastructure, the amount of money is infinite. And the quality of the people and quality of the projects here is next level. Like we are, I would say, ahead of the curve, that not everyone has heard of Metacrisis yet, and we are already working to resolve it. So yeah, my point is I definitely want to become more engaged in the outreach and partnerships. That's why I even created this chat, the group on the Telegram chat.
Great. Well, I would love to figure out how to do some pitches to those leads. So let's chat on Telegram. Mars, thanks for hooking that up. Alrighty. Anyone else have anything they want to chat about?
Maybe just informing that with Mycelia, so we are in Metacrisis Gitcon grant and also climate changes. And since we're so like dealing a bit with this issues like with the gas and even the communication about the grant, because even us like we're talking with like a community which hasn't a lot of access like to technology, even more like South America is also access to the fees, so has to support us. We're gonna to like organize few spaces on Twitter with indigenous leaders who are gonna to talk with us, like we're already engaged with Web3 technologies and like have a global vision, global mission, and would like to talk with us also about the vision, how we're using the tools and what we can make with their through the way of thinking, their mindset. So if you can, I don't know, help us to share about it, or even participate, or even think like another kind of divulgation for them, it's really important because it's for them, but we're doing that and they are working so for all of us, like taking care of our planet and inspiring us. So yeah, it's our movement for the next days, and who knows, like we'll do for that. It can be also dynamics that we can put in some meetings in Metacrisis, like from time to time having a leader to also like open our mind to other way of thinking and starting a meeting or seeing like what we're dealing. They're always open to this kind of sharings, even like podcasts and so on. So here we are for trying to make it. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for saying hi. If you send me a link to the Twitter Spaces, I will check it out. And yeah, all of your feedback on the quadratic funding round is absolutely necessary to make the experience better in the future. So really appreciate that. Alrighty, Madeline, I see you came off video. Oh, more people on video. I feel so less lonely now.
Yeah, this is a pretty high video ratio. Hi everyone, I'm Madeleine. I'm one of the co-founders of the New ecosystem. We started building New Life quite a few years ago. It's like a decentralized coordination app. And since then, we've been doing a lot of infrastructure related things and building out New Forum. So maybe some people heard of New Forum. It's like a kind of Web3 cast, we call it. So it started as a podcast, but it's running different forums. And right now, actually, we're hosting one for the Gitcoin beta community. We're sort of focused around, let's say, like the meta crisis has been a huge theme for us since the beginning. This is my first time, as I wrote in the chat, in these monthly calls. So I just wanted to give that as a general overview to introduce myself. But I'm personally working right now on, let's say, like a flow chart specifically of what the meta crisis is and what's the reverse of that. So I'm trying to like take some inspiration from your podcast, actually, Kevin, with Daniel Schwarzenberger about this taxonomy. And I saw in the forum that already started and there was a call about it. It would look really awesome. I was going through the spreadsheet with like this AI prompts and stuff. But I'm trying to think like kind of boiling down the core of it and behind things. So I would love to share this when I got a bit deeper for people to give feedback and any input. And the reason for that is basically that I'm trying to find a way to essentially share what the meta crisis is in a nutshell, but also like how do we go from there? Like what is the reverse so that anybody we're talking to can understand that and not just see their own lane, because this is what we've been experiencing. We started a Web3 accelerator and we had like really big partners like Unreal and Epic and stuff like that. But we were getting a lot of impact projects applying, and they were always coming into Web3 with these high hopes, but they couldn't really understand how they all fit together. So that's something that we wanted to offer to the whole ecosystem and anybody who wants access to that, to really make sure that people building in Web3, and especially founders and DAO creators, understand the meta crisis and its relationship to Web3 when they're building. So that's personally a project that I'm working on right now. And yeah, network effects and all that. So this is something I'm very happy to share and get feedback with, and then update next month a bit more deeply about what we're doing. And in the meantime, we're doing a lot of forums with the new forum community. And it's really open to anybody who'd like to run a forum to propose different suggestions, but starting to focus around academics, founders, DAO contributors, etc., to come and talk about the meta crisis holistically and do some forums together.
Great. Thanks so much for the overview of what you're working on. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, Madeline, I just wanted to see, had you already contributed the links to the ecosystem work you're doing into the forum, into the Telegram, or elsewhere? Because I think that it sounds like the sense making and really articulation of what is the meta crisis and what are we talking about? Global decentralization and mass coordination. How do we make that message ring and sing for folks? And so I would certainly like to see what you're doing and contribute in whatever way I can and connect people and ideas to support it. So
amazing. Yeah, I posted in this intros forum and a couple of other threads that stood out to me, some basic links, but I will be active and get to that point. I need to sort of get something that's not moving too much before people contribute. That can be quite hard. So I'm trying to do that and look through the forum for resources about that as well, and kind of educate myself on what's already been done here as well. So yeah, I would love to reach out. I will drop my Telegram in the chat here.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, and are you in the Telegram group already, or do you need an invite?
Yeah, I'm in the different channels inside it.
Okay. Nice.
Very well organized. Kudos to who was involved in that.
Alrighty, anyone else have anything to say? Thank you for the suggestions in the chat. Just wanted to say that I see you, Darren, and Marcus, and everyone else who's suggesting people. I'm putting them on my wish list right now.
One person that came to mind is the people from Buckminster Fuller Institute, simply because I know that Greg from New Zealand has the Buckminster Fuller quote on his website. I'm also massively inspired by Buckminster Fuller. One of his ideas was a global energy grid. And now I'm actually thinking that in terms of infrastructure and solving economic inequality and large-scale ecosystem restoration, I've applied to Ethereum Next Billion Fellowship with the project to revisit a railway from Cairo to Cape Town. It was viable 100 years ago. 100 years ago, it was a part of the British Empire, and it made loads of sense to transport military, to have a telegraph line. But then Great Depression, World War II, collapse of the British Empire, this railway was never finished. Currently, there is a lot of completed segments. And very recently, there was a situation in Sudan. So I'm actually thinking I'm not discouraged by the military operation in Sudan. I see this that whenever it will be resolved, to have a large-scale infrastructure project that provides economic prosperity to Africa, that provides meaningful employment opportunities to all the people who are involved. So yeah, by now you probably know I like thinking bigger. This is because I'm part of a community of exponential consultants. There is this guy, Astro Teller, who runs the Google X Moonshot Factory, and he stated that 10x is easier than 10%. So, for example, it would be so much easier to just make a full ban on animal agriculture. Like we can just say, like instantly, animals have the central nervous system. They are exposed to cruelty in this, animal holocaust. So it's so much easier to say just no, whether rather than saying, oh no, they need to have 2 extra square meters, or they need like 30 minutes of outdoor space. So sometimes radical change is easier than bargaining about nuances. And right now, because the situation in terms of climate, energy, food system, heat waves is so desperate, people might be willing to make more radical choices. And the COVID, what happened with the COVID, that people were able to shift their preferences of shopping, education, healthcare, how they do life. COVID gave me hope that radical change is possible.
Yeah, thanks, Mars. I think, the point of 10x being in some ways easier than 10% is kind of a profound one. Alrighty, I see some activity in the chat. So Michael Bowens from the P2P Foundation. And then there's some other suggestions in there as well. So thanks everyone for giving those out. I think we've got about 5 more minutes. Does anyone else have an agenda item? Okay.
Maybe I have a question about so the forum itself has a lot of different threads there, and the Telegram also has a lot of stuff. Where do you think is the best place for me to share projects for people to be involved in? What's the best place to really reach people in this community?
I think that the forum is, I like the forum for discussions that are going to stand over time, whereas the Telegram is great for more time-based coordination. I don't know that that's how everyone uses it, but that's how I use it. If you want to have something that's going to have longevity, I would probably compose something on the forum, would be my take. But as long as you're following the code of conduct, then I think that you'd be fine to post in any of those locations.
Okay, great.
I would also say, if you really want to jazz stuff up, once you post in the forum, say, hey, I got something hot, put it in the Telegram and say, hey, go over to the forum and check it out. People are all in the real time. So.
Okay, great.
I gotta say, the forums are they can be dense at times, but I do go through and I read every post once a week. I have some time set aside to do it, so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's some amazing stuff in there, really.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Go ahead, Matilda. Oh. You're on mute. Heads up.
Right. No, it was just a mistake. Actually, I just wanted to comment, but yeah, and thanking Madeleine for his question, because even for us when we started with the forum, it has been a bit hard to manage and see how to contact and see on the whole project. But I think there is a really good quality contents to look in each part. And I just enjoyed to share our campaign on also the climate change around, because we've been selected only yesterday, so we have been led on the campaign. So if you can have a look and also share for the indigenous community and the people of South America we are working with, it's super help. And thanking everybody for this call.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin, for organizing and herding the sheep.
Yeah. Yeah. All we got to do is figure out decentralized coordination. You replace me with a mechanism one day.
Exactly.
No, we will not replace your humanity with a mechanism.
All right. We don't need to
categorically deny that.
We don't need to spiral into a conversation about AI now. That's everywhere else on the internet right now.
Quick suggestion, maybe the next community call can be done on Twitter Spaces so that we
good idea.
reach out to others.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Have the conversation in public. Go ahead.
I like the idea. The Twitter Spaces has been super unstable recently. I don't know if it's gotten better, but I do like the idea of doing it.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Mars. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks for your time. See you on the forum. See you in the quadratic lands. Peace and love. Bye.
Peace, love, music.
Bye, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.